listener production.
G'day, it's Rusty here, all set for part 2 of a well overdue catch-up with Molly Taylor, the 2016 Australian Rally Champion and 2021 Extreme E title winner. That's a global crown and something she's rightly very proud of. Now, if you've arrived here without catching the first part of our latest instalment with Molly, head back to the library and you'll find it parked with this one. You'll enjoy some insights on the Extreme E series, an all-electric, almost rallycross format. She gets to rub shoulders there with some heroes too, including Sebastian Loeb and Carlos Sainz Sr. How she thought the initial approach to go and race in that series was a stitch-up, plus taking on Dakar, the ultimate endurance test in a side-by-side. We begin part 2 by chatting about co-drivers and how they invariably don't just guide you through the desert on Dakar, but they kind of become motivational coach too. Co-driver, tell us about that. And I gather there's some fun conversations at times. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of that relationship's always been so important in rally, but in the Dakar, you're in the car. And it's also like for so much longer time, but it's such a different style of navigation. And I think there's such a crucial role because it's driving, but it doesn't matter how good a driver you are if you're not on the right road, or if you get lost, or if you drive more kilometres than someone else. That's really where you can make or break a lot of the time in Dakar. And this year, my co-driver was a guy called Andrew Short. From the US, from Texas.
He's got some good turns of phrase, I'm told. Is that right?
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely
Give me an
brilliant.
Give me an example.
Well, he's an ex-bike rider. So he's finished in the top 10 a few times in Dakar on a bike. So he's properly nuts and amazing at the navigation. And just, honestly, one of the best people I've spent time with, full stop.
Wow.
But his philosophy and outlook, he's just such a positive person, really talented, but also just that, always kept you in the right frame of mind. And,
excellent.
And yeah, as you can imagine, he just has the most, to us, just, the most American kind of sort of phrases. And it was just, I was getting a pep talk the whole way around, and he'd be like, get it, girl. and I like that line. I like this pace. And it was so cool because we had so much fun. And, he was so experienced, but also, when things went wrong, and we had quite a lot of mechanical dramas, and it was a really sort of frustrating rally from that point because we had some good speed but never really got it together. But every time we had something, he would just every day it'd be like, new day, new opportunity, and just was always focusing on what can we do. And it got to one point where we'd had a bad day, and I was like, look, just let me be angry for 10 minutes. Stop trying to find the silver lining or work out what we should do or keep everything going well. I'm like,
Can I just snap here for a minute?
I just want to feel sorry for myself for 10 minutes and then I'll be fine.
Talk me through the bivouac, because you're knackered at the end of a long day. You got to come in, talk to crew about what the Can-Am needs, and then separately you're planning from a notes and stage perspective for the next day, aren't you? So you end up with a really limited window of sleep, basically, don't you?
Yeah, it depends on what time you come in and what time you leave the next morning and all those things, but also where we're staying. We can't complain too much because we had motorhomes, so that was the 5-star treatment. A lot of our crew, everyone, is just sleeping in tents. And in the back of trucks and things like that. So it's absolutely wild. So we actually got a camper van, so I can't really complain too much. But very noisy because the cars come in late at night. The mechanics, everyone's working on them all night. So, the mechanics are the real heroes. There was a few nights our guys didn't sleep at all.
Wow.
And so there's noises, there's stuff going on, tyres being changed, all night until the early hours in the morning. That's when the bike guys start getting up and getting ready to go. So, you're never getting a quality sleep. At all. But it's amazing, when you get tired, what you can sleep through as well.
You've just done literally an interview with young Clay Richards, his dad, Stephen Richards, multiple Bathurst winner. I can recall talking to him about the Bathurst 24-hour, and they're running the Monaro up there at that point in time. And he said you'd climb into the truck or the motorhome or whatever they were sleeping in, and he said you'd just go to sort of close your eyes, and then you'd hear the car come down the hill again, and then you're awake. So you listen to, the car's okay. So this would go on for ages, and it made it really tough to get some sleep. And it's like that in the bivouac because there's so much going on. I reckon Nathan Prendergast told me you got to be careful where you park, because if you end up camping near the truck guys, they're one of the last ones to kind of come in, and then they're up all night working on the truck and things like that. And that's hell from a sleep point of view, isn't it?
Yeah, I totally am. We were near trucks. We had everything in our town. We had the trucks and then all the Can-Ams. But yeah, it's and also when they're changing the truck tires as well, and the amount of air they have to put in to change them. So it's like bomb goes off every now and then. So it's like 3 a.m. and then boom, and you wake up and like, what's happened? And then you realise they're just changing some truck tires.
Crazy. Will you go and do more of that? Is the plan? We're recording this in June. Will you go and do that again this year?
I mean, I would love to. It's a massive event from a resource point of view. So it's not cheap to compete in. So I mean, a lot of it, as always in motorsport, depends on aligning all those stars.
Yeah.
So that's that's a big job to do. But if I have the opportunity to do it, 100%, it's it's something that is there's so many elements to it, so many challenges, and it's just I think it's the best overall test in the motorsport sense.
Cool. You did go in the lead up to it. I think you went to Vegas, didn't you? Didn't you go and do some stuff in the desert out there to help prep for it last year too? Is that right?
Well, I did, and I got COVID, and I spent the whole time in this really seedy hotel in Vegas, and then I went home.
Oh, you poor thing.
So I did have plans to do that. Didn't quite eventuate. Unfortunately, it was going to. I mean, up until that point, I'd been all through 2021 traveling without it. So it was going to happen at some point. But yeah, the South Racing team is a fantastic team, and they do so many things. So at least to be able to be in with a group of guys like that have done so many miles in those cars, so many cars. There's nothing they don't know about those cars and what you need to do for Dakar.
Closer to home, we haven't, sadly, seen you making regular appearances in the Australian Rally Championship, and I know deep down you would dearly love to do that. So is there a hope, a want, a plan? Would you like to perhaps go and tackle some, and will we see you back against Harry and Lewis Bates and all of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a hope, a want, and a plan. And whether I can pull it off is another question. But yeah, I really do miss it. It's just rallying's sort of what I've known since I started, and I would love nothing more than to be back on the stages back here as well. So it's certainly something that I haven't given up on. I mean, the landscape's changed a lot. So our WRX that we ran is a beautiful piece of machinery, and as a production car, what the guys in Tassie have created with that car is something really, really special. And so I would love to get back out in it. It's probably, I mean, realistically, it's now the production class that we're looking at now. That the outright cars have all changed to new specifications and the European Rally 2 spec and all those sorts of things, which within our regulations we can't build the WRX to. But even in saying that, the competition in the ARC is getting better and better and stronger, and even in that production class is a real opportunity to get all those WRXs and Evos and all those cars and show for relatively old cars compared to a lot of the new ones how good they are. So it's definitely something I would love to do.
I'm glad you bring up the ARC in a more broader perspective or sense. Then I've got these great memories, right, of the kind of mid-2000s there, where it was Subaru, Mitsubishi with Ed Ordinsky and Rally Art, Toyota, obviously. I mean, it's just this golden period for the sport. It does feel like there are some good ingredients in the current scheme of things to get a little closer to that again, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. As you say, I remember. I mean, that's sort of when I grew up, was in that.
You were little. I
golden,
was old. I'm
golden
old now.
era, and Neil obviously, but Possum and Cody and Dean in the Subarus, and it was really. I think. I mean, you always look back at they were the heydays and whatever, but I think if we look at what the ARC is doing now and the cars and the number of top level cars we're getting in the series now, I think you're right. There's definitely feels like it's getting back to to where it should be.
Good.
And hopefully bringing in more manufacturers as a result of that, and we can build something, because it is such a cool sport.
Yep. I'd love to see you lining up in that again. I hope, however, you can stitch that together and that it does come to pass. That would be ace. Helping to fill the gap a little bit has been a thing called broadcasting. You and I are on Stan Sport and Channel 9 doing some stuff with the Australian Racing Group, which has been really cool. You've done it for a couple of years now. How are you finding that? How much fun has that been? We have a ball when we do this, really, don't we? I mean, that's the whole essence of the mission when we set out to, yes, we're going to chase stories and do a live broadcast and all that sort of stuff, but behind the scenes and off air, it's tremendous, isn't it?
It is a lot of fun. A big challenge. I'm still learning a lot and feel very green.
What have you learned?
Just trying to copy you, Rusty.
Some would say that's not a good idea, Molly.
But yeah, just the, you're across so many things. Like mentally, it's unreal. I wear all these devices that tell me how I sleep and how I train, and doing a broadcast weekend, I think, takes a bigger toll
Really?
than doing a rally. Just because mentally you're trying to remember everyone in the field, what's happening, things that are relevant to them, trying to think up the questions while someone's talking in your ear, and it's all live. Can't swear, that's difficult. So there is so much. I mean, it's given me a whole new appreciation for your side of the world, because it really, it's so impressive to watch guys like you do it.
Thank you.
So professionally, and it looks like you're doing it easy, but I know how many things are going around and how much work has gone into just knowing that right bit of information that's relevant to that person in that moment without a notebook. Like, it's so impressive. But I think, as you said, it's just fun. Like, I feel like we go away for a weekend and it's like going away with a weekend.
Oh no, Dan, I'm working very hard, Dan.
But that's probably one of the bits I enjoy about it the most, because normally you go to race weekends, you see all these people, but you've got that, that stress of competing, whereas here I can just hang out with everyone and yes, have the workload and it's tough while we're doing it, but also at the end of the day, we're just, I have this kind of more relaxed fun with everyone. It's great.
Yeah. You do leave dinner early, though. You get tie-ties, don't you?
do.
It's mentally draining for you, isn't it?
I do.
Oh, it's 8 o'clock. Molly wants to
bed.
pull out now. She wants to go to bed now.
Look, I'm not convinced, because normally when we go out to dinner, I normally get a look or a text message from you, Rusty, under the table that's like, you just nod when you want to go and I can bail you out. And I don't know whether that's because you're just trying to be nice to me, or whether you also want to go and you're just going to use me.
It's
but
both.
We can both work that. I mean, that deal works with me.
It works for me too. It works for me too. So broadcasting is great. Now you are taking the learnings from that to make some content and do a few things around this new adventure called the Mad Garage with your partner, Dan. You buy a workshop in Melbourne off the back of a period in quarantine. You've spotted it online. Tell me about this, and you're recording a television show for Stan in there now. I mean, it's up and running. It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great place to just hang out. It was essentially just one of those. It's about, I think the floor space is 77 square meters, so it's very, very small. It's got a little mezzanine, but it was basically, apart from that, it was just a concrete box. And so we had this idea to DIY it and turn it into this functional workshop, but also a space where we could film stuff. Bit like I think my sort of design brief was a Formula One workshop across Google headquarters.
Okay.
So we have a rock climbing wall up the side, but all the floors and everything's white. We've done some work with Super Cheap Auto to fit it out in all matching tool cabinets and all that sort of stuff. So it's very functional.
Awesome.
And then upstairs, which Dan's called the Mad Mez, and that's got some, a kitchenette that we've built. Todd Kelly helped us out with some steel line framing to build a wall to house.
He would have been hands-on with that too,
He
wasn't he?
did, yeah. He
good.
wanted to. It was the first time they had sort of this production that they've got. It's a bit like life-size techno or Technic, or that's, the fancy Lego stuff. It's a bit like life-size that, so it was a lot of fun. So, he wanted to come and see how it all went up. And we've got a kitchen, lounge room, hangout area up the top, and then a workshop down the bottom, and somewhere where we'll do car projects in a way with the competition side and with Can-Am, and hopefully if we do some rallying, we've got this cool base, but something we can also shoot from. We can do stuff with my sponsors and partners as well. And I mean, our neighbour across from us, we have all these great ideas. And the other day he just came in and said, "Are you guys going to do any work soon? Because all you do is just like play music and hang out with people. When are you going to actually do something?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, that'll happen."
It'll happen. Well, I mean, if you look at socials, it is happening, right? I mean, some of the stuff I saw around the launch was awesome. What I loved was the story of the build. So you and Dan doing plastering, doing all of the...
Oh, my God.
How out of your depth were you
Oh,
there?
my God. Like, I mean, we didn't want to, we were trying to be cheapskates. And so we thought we could do everything. And it's amazing, with a bit of optimism and YouTube, how many things you can figure out how to do, but you wouldn't want to look too closely at the finish of everything. But we decided essentially, apart from all the electrical work and the plumbing, which was way beyond our scope, we had some great help with that. But apart from that, we basically did everything else DIY.
Any truth that you left when the floor painting was happening? You're very busy. I've got to go to a broadcast, or I'm overseas for a race or something. And he got left with it, didn't he? Was it something like that?
Yes, yeah, that's pretty much what happened. So we were building everything, and then I had to go over for the like Extreme E stuff, and then later the Dakar stuff. But it was right around the time when we had this idea. We wanted to launch it in January. It needed to be up and running by then. So reverse engineering that, the epoxy floor had to be done at some point, which is quite a complex process and not a fun job. And I was going to be away, so Dan did that all on his own. He still has like some of his gym wear. He wore his gym gear, and one of his gym shirts still has epoxy paint on it that he refuses to throw out. And he ruined a pair of thongs. I've got epoxy all over them. And
he messaged me, and he looked like Painter Pete, someone who would rock up with there's paint everywhere. Anyway, the great story about that is he's taken a bit of a leap of faith with this too. I mean, he's a very respected motoring journalist. Has done things all around the world for very, very good publications. I mean, he's in this boots. I mean, I know your partners obviously, but he's in this boots and all, isn't he?
Yeah, it's nice for us to kind of have a project where we can put both me from motorsport side, and he doesn't really have much involvement in the motorsport world, but on an automotive side, very, very involved with his work with Wheels Magazine and Motor Magazine, and now just going freelance to still do all those things, but also start to build this workshop. So we've kind of come from both ends of the car spectrum, I guess, and we've built this workshop. So it will do motorsport stuff, but it can also do just general car projects. And we've got an old Brumby that we're going to do some stuff with. So yeah, it's really cool to have this thing that we can both add in from a creative and presenting and all that side. He's so good at that.
Exactly. I won't spoil it because I reckon that needs to come out via the Mad Garage channels, right? But we have seen a few little things pop up in relation to the Brumby. So it did a little mission, I think, from Sydney to Melbourne, and I think that is just the perfect car to sort of launch into this, isn't it?
Yeah, it took a long time. It was the
road trip.
Oh, yeah. It took a long time, but it's so funny driving that car down the road and the amount of sort of nods and looks you get around it.
People, that's cool. That's what they say, don't they?
Yeah. And we have all these grand ideas to, what engine we should put in and all this stuff. But then, so it's got now 399,000 kilometres on it, and it didn't skip a beat. I mean, sometimes there's some weird noises that you just sort of ignore. But it starts first time, it literally sometimes takes about 20 seconds to start, but it will always start. Drove, without an issue. It's just... It's such a cool thing and such a nice little humble car that we absolutely love.
And it's fitting too because you're such a loyal human being, right? And you've had this great long association with Subaru, and even though you're not in the ARC necessarily with them now, you've kept that relationship going. So I mean, that I think is a nice nod or tip of the hat too, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It is, as you say, it's one of those cult classic cars, and it's kind of that start of all the Subaru heritage. So it's very much part of the family. We're actually planning at the moment of what stickers we're going to get put on it. So we're going to try and put some of the original style stickers. It's still the original beige.
Lovely colour.
But with the Mad Garage logo. So it's good. The idea is it's our workshop ute. It's the one
Fantastic.
that we pop out to the tool shop or whatever to get some stuff.
Shane Jacobson has done some rallying. Okay, I will admit he's not in Molly's league, but he really loves cars and motorbikes. In his episode with Rusty, Shane talked about driving during the making of the movie Charlie and Boots with Paul Hogan.
While she's looking at us, we nod again, and I don't know what her name is, but I still remember her husband's name was Doug, because while looking at us, she went, Doug? Doug? And he yelled out, what? She said, bloody Kenny and Crocodile Dundee are in the bloody car next to us.
You can find Shane in the Rusty's Garage Library. Eric Banner is in there too. Rusty wishes he was a Hollywood heartthrob. Tell him he's dreaming. Now back to a rally legend and someone who's a bit of a TV star as well, Molly Taylor.
In the gap between when we did podcast 1 and now, you did compete in that Subaru TCR machine. You touched on it a little bit before. What was that like? How much fun did you have? I mean, we get to commentate on this series now, and there's all sorts of different makes and marks. Those cars aren't here now, but it was in the early development of this series in Australia, and that was a good bit of fun, wasn't it?
It was a lot of fun, and that was with, as you said, TCRs just coming in, so it was so cool to kind of be part of that growth of the series and see what it's become today. But to go myself, I was, totally a fish out of water. I had no idea what I was doing, and unfortunately we had a lot of bad luck. At most of the races, but incredible learning opportunity and just to be involved in that side of the world was a lot of fun, and to work with Kelly Racing and.
You've stayed good friends with Todd and Christy and everything, haven't you?
That's been a great thing, I think, to be able to get to know those guys, and we don't live so far away, so to be able to hang out from that. It all really started from that TCR program.
So you have an appreciation of what these cars are like to drive for the competitors that are here, but there is a funny little story, and it's very fitting that we are here at Winton to share it. And that is the first time, not just you, but everyone kind of left the pit lane here. It was first real experience for most people with these TCR cars in Australia. Weather hadn't necessarily been great. Tell us what happened next.
We were chatting yesterday about Winton and coming back here and the temperature. And we know now, watching the TCR series, that those first couple of laps, getting that temp into the rear tyres, they don't have big brakes, front wheel drive, so that it takes a bit of time to get the temp into the rears. And I don't think we really appreciated just how like ice those cold slicks were in 0 degree temperatures. But it was quite funny. We all, for the very first test, there was a few people up with the TCR cars. I think it was May. I think it was between 0 and 5 degrees. It was freezing, and we all rocked out for the first laps. And by turn 4, I think we'd all spun. It was kind of this like, oh wait, okay, right, now we need to actually step back and go about this a different
way. Because as is racing drivers
funny.
or competitive, but you all stood on it basically, didn't you? And off they went. Okay, we now know where the grip level is. No problem. Right, a couple of other things that we can talk about here. You do a remarkable job, I reckon, with I think is it Sim that you do some great stuff with from a commercial partnership standpoint. Yes. So now you've got a thing going with Castrol. They've been around Australian motor racing for forever. And as a part of that new relationship, you got to drive a supercar with Thomas Randall. Yeah. Who else was there? Was it Pierre Gasly?
Yes. And Jack Doohan.
Oh, how good.
Esteban was there briefly, but we did all the driving stuff.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So Gen 3 Mustang?
Yeah, so it came about quite last minute, and we took. So this was the Wednesday of the week of Albert Park. So they were on track Thursday. And we were there on Wednesday in Tom's Mustang that he's about to drive the next day. Mm-hmm. And they let us drive it around the Thunderdome. And it had been raining. It was just starting to clear a little bit, but it was not the best conditions. The Thunderdome is super bumpy. It actually felt like, around one corner and one bump that the supercar was get air on. I was, bottoming out. It was unreal. But they let us turn a lap around the Thunderdome.
Awesome.
So still very grateful that I kept saying to Tom, like, are you sure? Because,
this is your
it's
baby.
Not
you needed it the weekend.
Spin, and if it hits the wall, I don't know if, they're struggling to be able to fix these cars in a quick turnaround. So I think Tom was pretty nervous.
Was he?
But everyone, Pierre, Jack, myself, we all got a lap.
That's cool.
In the car.
Gasly was beaming. Randall's great, isn't he? He's a great young guy.
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
We had so much fun, and just to experience that car is so cool. It just do a little bit and then just kind of
Want more?
want more.
Cool. You got a bright smile on your face. I don't know how much you can tell me. I gather it may not have been your first time in a supercar, though. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true. Actually, I did a. I mean,
First
I've
time
never
in a
really
Gen.
spoken about
First
it.
time in a Gen 3 car, though.
Yeah, in 2017, I think it was. I drove the Super 2 car with Brad Jones Racing at an eval day here. I'm actually here
Did
at
you?
Winton. Did a couple of sessions.
So it's kind of on the quiet, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on the quiet at the time, and I mean, at the time I was rallying with Subaru, so the right, sort of.
It's the right way to do it, right way to handle it.
Where
yeah.
I was focused. So nothing really eventuated, but I mean, it was a cool opportunity and something that I considered for a little bit of time.
Did you? Big mission though, to find the corporate support to do that.
Well, that's the thing, right? And you want to do it properly if you were going to do it. And so in the end, nothing ever came from it. But yeah, it was a pretty awesome thing to do. And yeah, now hopping back in it, I was like, I would like to. It'd be nice to do another eval day at least and just try and
see
stretch
where,
some legs a little bit.
See where that leads. As we talk, you are here with us for the broadcast for the weekend, and then you bolt to Melbourne Airport to fly. Where are you going? To France.
Yeah, I think I might have to ask you to do the closer because
Can I have
I
an
just
early
rang
mark?
the
Can I have an
producer
early mark?
yesterday and was like, I've got to leave before the broadcast ends to make my flight to land at
Okay,
midnight
Molly.
before a test. So I've tried to skin it every other way I can, but heading back over to for the next round, so it'll be good.
And some testing. You're going to do some testing of the Extreme E car?
Yeah, that's the plan. So we don't really get much testing at all with these cars, but the series is basically gives the teams the cars for these few weeks between Scotland and Sardinia, and a certain amount of power allocation that you're allowed to use for some testing. So a great opportunity to be able to get some miles in the car, because I mean we don't get very many kilometres at all. So that's one of the challenges of Extreme E. It's just how much you can just adapt on the fly. So it's really valuable to have that time.
Cool. Couple to finish. You are now an auntie.
Yes.
And your lovely sister is in trouble because you are what should I say, encouraging motorsport, are you not?
Well,
with your nephew.
to be honest, my sister she's very clever.
Yes.
So I was trying to talk to Tony, my eldest nephew,
Yes.
about doing some donuts next time we were together. Which now has turned into Donuts the Food, which my sister's reframed. So now when he sees her, let's go do some donuts, I'm like, yeah, let's do some donuts. And he literally thinks they're going to go buy some donuts. So I don't think it's been the best for his diet. But she's so far winning that battle. But he can tell you, every car badge.
Love it.
He can tell you. He knows all the keys to the cars. He's
All
very,
over
very
it.
switched on, can name all the parts under the engine.
Really?
The engine bay, yeah. Can tell you where the valve cap is on the tyres. He loves that one.
Super cool.
So, yeah, I mean, it's only a matter of time.
How much of that is you? How much of that is your dad?
Oh, I think it's probably more my dad. I mean, he sees him a lot more regularly being up in Sydney. But, like from the beginning, it's just all been about
Cars.
things and cars. And now it's a lot about trains as well.
Is it?
So, yeah, just anything that has to be put together or moves is fascinating.
Cool. Your lovely mum in the background, there are calls probably on an almost daily basis. She helps you immensely from a logistics standpoint. I mean, she's been amazing in that role for Neil Bates Motorsport, and she helps coordinate stuff for you, doesn't she, even now?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Thanks, Mum. I normally hatch up all these great plans and then realise that there's no physical way I can manage it all, and then I ring her and kind of put her in a corner.
So where is she on that? She's somewhere between dream and reality meter, is she?
Yeah. So she's always saying to me, like, don't take on too much. And so I normally now have to preface it. Like, I know this is what you're going to say, but this is the situation and this is why this needs to happen. So it's not about, if it should or shouldn't happen. It's how can we make it happen.
And then she goes, yes, but it will cost this.
Yeah,
And then-
exactly. Oh,
she's a machine, isn't she?
Yeah,
She's back in the. Can you believe it? She's back in the co-driver's seat again
so
with
good.
Harry. Isn't that awesome?
It's so good to see her back, and I think it's been really good for her because, she never lost it.
Yeah.
I mean, we all love to tell her that she's the Australia's fastest grandma, and like to wind her up in all those ways. But when she gets in the car, she's doing the same job she did 30 years ago, as well.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed. Okay. When we first spoke, you were with your mum in part ownership of an Audi that used to be owned by Kerry Packer. I love the story of how he arm wrestled that out of them at the Australian Motor Show. They were like, "No, Mr. Packer, this is just on display. It has to go back to Germany." I think he said something like, "I'll have that, son.
Yeah.
I'll have that."
Yeah.
You're out of that now, but did Mum keep it? Is that what's happened there, or have you moved that car on?
It's just about to be moved on,
Is it?
actually.
Is
Yeah,
it?
it was never part of the plan, but yeah, there's just always got to be a new project on the go at home. So.
Well, speaking of projects, Dad loves a project, right? And your mum shared with me that it's not uncommon for him to go somewhere, some distant remote farm paddock and spot something and buy it. I think she said to me at one point he went with the intention of buying one and came back with 8 or something rather than some crazy story there.
I can imagine that.
But where I'm going, he has built a shorty, an Audi Sport Quattro, and as is his way, he's gone to unbelievable detail in replicating all of the little things about the proper original cars in the build of that, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful car. Yeah, a really special project because those Sport Quattros from a rally heritage point of view are just
iconic.
One of the most iconic that there will ever be. And yeah, that's his passion. Just that love of the historic cars and the era, and so for him to sort of to do something on that scale has been very, very special. But if someone wants to buy it, I believe it also is for sale. So
wow.
we'll put that out there.
Wow. Okay. Who needs eBay? We can do mobile sales here.
But I think that's the thing. It's more about the process of building it. I think then it gets to the end and then it's done. So
It's
there's
done.
nothing. It's not a project anymore.
But your mum loved the fact. I think that couriers kept turning up with little stickers or original valve caps or something. Like he found all of these things.
Oh yeah,
didn't he?
deep into the
detail.
the European forums for the Quattros and all various types of cars as well.
Awesome. We've done this without a note, sitting in a car. It's been a joy to catch up with you. Congratulations on what you're doing now at an international level, the stuff you're doing here locally. I love the passion. You've always got an idea, a project, something on the go. How you juggle it, I will never know. In that little period where I'm sure it was immensely tough, you are to be congratulated because you showed people that when the chips are down, you just regather and you go hard once again. And I just, to know that you are winning again at the top, and showing people how much you've got to offer, I reckon is just unreal. Keep powering.
Oh, thank you very much, Rusty. I really appreciate it.
Rusty's Garage is written and presented by me, Greg Rust. Series editor and producer is Thomas Dullard. Audio production by Link Kelly. If you've got a guest suggestion, get in touch with me via social media. The Garage, that's where a journey begins with a tank full of passion-fueled stories.